Disclaimer. All views expressed on What Makes Us Fire are solely those of the person or persons giving them. What Makes Us Fire does not represent or claim to represent any particular city or fire department, and therefore make the claim that all views and standpoints are affiliated with What Makes Us Fire and with What Makes Us Fire only. Any mention of certain fire departments or cities within the interviews are solely for informational and opinion-based dialogue. In short, if you have a problem with what was published, just say something about it, and don't be a Richard. What's up, What Makes Us Fire Family? How are you all doing? Thank you for coming and joining us on this episode. We have a great guest. He's a brother of mine in the fire department. He's our union president. He's the fireman's firefighter, and his name is Dallas Webb. You guys might have heard about him in one of my previous shows where we talked to Adam, his husband. So yeah, we're going to get a little bit into what it was like for him coming up in the fire department as a gay man. But also we dive into something a little different. He's the union president. He's our local's president. And so we get a little bit into the politics and what it's like for him having to juggle being a firefighter, being a husband, and being a representative of his fellow brothers and sisters. Y'all, he does this with tenacity, grace, and a willingness that's very hard to really live up to. What Makes Us Fire Family? Please help me welcome Mr. Dallas Webb.
The electricity within my body is just amazing.
That's going to be our opening right there. Thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate you coming at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, no problem. 10's late for me.
When do you usually wake up?
Now that I'm an old man, like 7, 6 o'clock, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I wake up around that time.
Yeah, getting old as hell.
How old are you?
I just turned 38.
You're not that old.
Yeah, but I'm not 25 anymore. When I used to sleep until noon, or could sleep until noon.
You could sleep until noon. I don't know, I mean, I don't think I haven't slept till noon since I started the job.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Damn. All right, man. Dallas, thank you for coming on to What Makes Us Fire. I actually had a session with your husband, Adam, just about a few days ago, actually.
Yeah, I remember I was here for it. It sounded quite miserable. Obviously, you learned what it's like to have to live with him.
I did learn what it was like to live with him a little bit. He's definitely outspoken.
Yeah, to say the least.
How do you deal with that, really?
I actually love it. Adam's always been very independent, like outspoken, boisterous. I like boisterous people, like people that like to have fun. And having Adam be able to deal with all that stuff when I'm at work and be that type of person is like the perfect meld between the two of us. Because I'm boisterous and happy-go-lucky and have fun, but I'm also quiet when I want to be. You know, I can go to a club or I can go out hunting, whereas he can't do both. He can only do one. There's only one.
I can see that. And I know that you can go out hunting because we've gone hunting together.
Yeah.
We did not come back with anything, but we went.
No, and most of the time I ended up leaving early.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with everybody that I invite hunting. Half the time, or most of the time, we're not even hanging out. So I know it's not me.
Yeah.
I know you guys aren't leaving because you're sick and tired of me. Half the time, you're in your own spot for the whole damn day. I come back and you're like, I think I'm going to leave.
Yeah. I've had to do the same thing with one of our other buddies that I go hunting with quite a bit. And for some reason, I don't know if it's the type of food that we eat while we're there, like while we're at the campsite, while we're doing our thing. But I have a pretty bad gut issue. And so most of the time when I get out there, I don't know if it's inconsistency of how many times I'm eating a day or what's happening, but all of a sudden I just start getting really ill. I ended up having to leave and go home and relax and lay down for a couple of days. So it's really weird. I don't know why.
We need to figure that out.
I know. Maybe I should just bring Nutrigrain bars or something like that. Maybe that'll help.
Well, clog yourself up or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what actually happens. So,
Oh, well then bring some X-Lax.
ooh, then a deer won't come around because I'll be getting all over the place.
Dig a deep enough hole. I
Yeah.
don't know. Wherever there's a problem, there's a solution.
Yeah, true. That's true.
So we met when I know I just changed subjects immediately right there, but we met my first year at the fire department. You were already there for I think just a couple years, not too much longer before I was there.
Yeah.
I was
How
there.
long
I
you
got
been?
hired in '09.
Okay, so I've been there since 06.
So yeah, you were only there for 3
Yeah,
years,
3 years.
and which is in the fire service actually still fairly young.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting you. You were at Station One still. I think you've been at Station One your entire.
My entire career, I've never moved.
We were talking about that with Jason Patton. He was asking, like, do firefighters or can you stay at one station for your entire career? And I told him, yeah, it's possible.
It is possible.
And he was envious of that because he was just like, man, we don't have that in ours because there's no station pride or anything.
Yeah, I mean, as a little baby firefighter, like you said, I grew up at Station One. Station One's one of our busiest stations in the city. I've always loved being there. I like the business of it. I like being on our toes all the time. Not sure if we're gonna catch a call. We do run most nights, which makes it somewhat hard the next day. But it is what it is. I enjoy being there, and luckily I've gotten to promote through Station One.
Yeah, you kicked me out of my spot at Station One.
Josh, you were a wonderful person to let me stay home with my family. You were part of my family when you promoted the driver, and you were my driver. But
oh, I remember I was there for my probationary year for like 2 months or something like that. I was there for a little short period of time when they were rotating the rookies.
Yeah.
And I remember you came to me and you're like, the lieutenant asked which one of you, because a few rookies came through and the lieutenant was trying to see which rookie he would want to come back or if we just want to keep the rookie that was already there. I remember you told me, you're like, I actually wanted you to come back.
Yeah.
You're one of the first people to voice that they actually liked working with me, which was weird. Which is weird. It's not weird. I haven't had anybody tell me they don't like working with me. And if they don't like working with me and they haven't told me, I'm blissfully ignorant of that fact. And they're the ones that have to deal with the issue. So,
well, the way I thought about it was I like people that like doing their job. I like people that like and love to be at work. And I like people that don't mind working hard. And you've checked all those boxes for us. And for me as a firefighter, that's what I look for is probably at that time was when I was getting close to, I don't know how, but being the senior firefighter at the station.
Yeah, at that point you were the senior firefighter at the station.
So you checked all those boxes for me, and that's what I look for in a firefighter. I look for a person who's going to work hard, who loves the job. That's it. You do that, you're golden in my book.
So. Well, I appreciate you noticing that in me. I try to portray that, especially in my earlier days. Nowadays, I got a whole lot of other shit going on in my head, so my demeanor's changed a little bit. But anytime the bell rings or it's time to work, I'm all for it. Training, I'm all for it. Ready to hit it hard.
Absolutely.
So we met 10 years ago. Our friendship grew very organically, I think, in that there was never a sit down, get to know each other. It was just we constantly learned each other little by little as we kept going. I think when you have that organic growing of a relationship where there's no real sit down serious talk. And we had a couple of them, but it was never like we're gonna sit down, I'm gonna tell you hash it out, we're gonna get real deep right away. It was never like that.
Yeah, no. I think it was a lot had to do with when you sit down or somebody becomes part of your crew or your group. It becomes very difficult if you have to try to make the relationship work between everybody. If you have to try, it's not really going to work out in the end. I'm not going to say that because marriages and all that stuff, it's hard and you have to try sometimes. It's hard work. But when it comes to the firefighting side of it, either you get it or you don't. And generally I can tell most people when they come on the job if they're going to be able to get it, if it's something they're going to be able to do. And luckily, at Station One, I can only speak with what I've dealt with. But luckily, a lot of the people that have come through there truly understand the job, truly get it, and it's kind of easy for them. But when you have to sit there and say, "Oh well," you have to clean, you have to get up and do this, you have to do this. First day expectations, we talked to you about that. You got it right away. I never had to tell you again. And that's what I truly like about people that are willing to work. Not forgetful, not, oh, I forgot I had to get up and clean the station. I forgot I had to do this. I forgot I had to do this. First couple times, okay. When it becomes a 3, 4, 5 month event, I don't want you there anymore. I just don't. It becomes cumbersome for me to have to get up and tell you every day, hey, well, let's clean the station. Let's do this. Let's do this.
Well,
it
shows character, really.
Yeah.
And if that character isn't shown of somebody that you want to get to know, then I can see how difficult it would be to not only work with them as a coworker, but even try to be a friend later on. Because that little thing, those little things, like you said, that shows character, that shows your willingness, your perseverance, your responsibility, whatever it is, it shows your character on doing what you're supposed to do and being trusted to do it. And I think it comes down to the whole trust thing.
Yeah.
If I can trust you to do your job correctly, especially after being told once, okay, maybe you're somebody I want to get to know more on a deeper level.
Yeah, and even that's it kind of all melds into this one big huge event, right? So if I can trust you, if I can tell you one time that you need to get up and do the dishes, or that it's time to do the dishes, time to start cleaning up, it's time to vacuum and mop and do all the things we do on a daily basis as firefighters. Everybody generally thinks that as firefighters we just get to, rescue babies and that's it. A lot of our job is taking care of our station, taking care of the apparatus that the citizens pay for, making sure that our stuff is ready to go every time the bell rings. And if I can continuously count on you doing that every time, then that transitions into on the fire ground. The things I teach you outside in training, I can count on you to do in the fall on the fire ground. We're there when, for lack of better terminology, when the shit hits the fan, I know I can count on you to do it because I trained you to be there. I trust you around the station. I trust you everywhere else. So there's no reason I can't trust you here. And that's what it comes down to. Like I said, for me, the station dues, the little things at the station, those are the little things that contribute to being a good or decent firefighter, no matter how you think about it. That's how I personally think about it. I know other people are different. Some people will say they don't care. As long as you do on the job stuff, that's where they like it. Well, I like that too, but I also don't think that a 25-year veteran in a fire department should be scrubbing toilets every day. That's my personal opinion. That should be a rite of passage for our younger folks, myself included. There's never a day that I'm going to do anything or tell my firefighters to do anything I'm not willing to do myself, ever. It's never happened and it won't ever happen.
I agree with you on that because I also have a saying that I don't ever expect anybody to do something that I'm not willing to do.
Yeah.
However, what I do, and I guess maybe expect, is that you're either going to do the job just as well as I can, if not better. And the reason why I say do the job just as well as I can is because I'm willing to do that job as well.
Yeah.
And I will do that job as well.
Yeah.
So how do you think that transitions into outside when, okay, shift's done? Are you going to go hang out with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like we've always talked about, when you're a firefighter, you live with these people for at least every third day of your life. Sometimes more than that, because we work a lot of overtime on different people. Overtime. So when you really look at it, it tends to be a lot more. You tend to spend a lot of time with these people, and there's people that, yes, not that I wouldn't, but I don't have as much in common with, that I don't spend as much time with, that I wouldn't go out hunting with, that I wouldn't spend my extra time with. But there are a lot of people in the department I consider as part of my family, and I'm going to go out hunting with you. I'm going to go out hang out with you. I enjoy being around you, you guys. So yeah, I mean, just when you're at the station and you're getting along with somebody and somebody becomes part of your family, it's just like my own family, like my sister. I call my sister all the time. Hey, let's go do something. Let's go do this. Or, hey, you want to come over and go swimming, or, bring the kids over, or whatever it takes. So I think of it the same way. I'm always going to call you guys and say, hey, let's go do this. Let's go do this. Obviously, we're all busy. Things happen. In the last 3 years of my life, I've been the busiest I've probably ever been. So
That's your own fault.
that is my own fault, and I'll take full responsibility for it.
But I think I've only done it once, and that's on me. But beforehand, I think when you first started and we'll get into why you've been busy. But I think when you first started, I asked you, hey, are you okay? Like, I know you're real busy. Now you even talked to your husband about it. Hey, how's he doing? I know he's real busy.
Yeah.
And then I'd ask Adam, like, how are you with it? Because
that's the hard part.
Yeah, because that's a big stress. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we'll just say to have your loved one away from you for a long period of time on a general basis and get paid is a little bit different when you're not getting paid for it. It's a lot to ask of them. Yeah. Say, hey, I'm going to spend another possibly 24 hours or more either on the phone or not paying attention to what you have to say or not paying attention to this. I do, over the last year or so, I have started a rule. At this time of night, I set the phone down. I don't answer any more phone calls. That's it. It's my family time, and now I have to let everything else go. Everything can wait until the morning. Now I'm not gonna lie, I do sneak away and check messages while nobody's paying attention, just in case.
Well, he knows you're sneaking away to do that.
Yeah, I know. He does. But it's like a game.
Well, okay. I want to switch gears because we obviously, for everybody out there that's listening that doesn't know you, that doesn't know me and you, that doesn't know the relationship, that doesn't know where you work. We're not going to say where we work, by the way. We have mentioned Adam, your husband, and I want everybody to know, because to me it's not a big deal, right? But I still think there's a stigma out there that needs to be addressed. And if you're willing to address it, I want to go there with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's still a stigma and an idea about having firefighters that are gay. You're gay, by the way, everybody, if you didn't know. It's not who you are. It's just a part of you. That's it. It's just it's your sexual orientation. That's all it is.
Right.
But there's a stigma tied to that idea that you're gay, so you're less than or can't do a certain thing. Or I still think that's out there. I think it's changing. And I think you're part of the reason why it's changing, because you prove everybody fucking wrong in their idea of what gay is or what's being forced upon them in the media. I'll tell you this. When I first met you, I had no idea. Right. No clue. Nobody told me anything, nothing. And we were working together and we were talking, we were hanging out, and then I heard something. Well, you know he's gay, right? Fuck off. He's like, gay. There's no way. You see this fucker?
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way he's gay. No way. He's a fucking linebacker. You kidding me? This guy shakes my hand and almost breaks it just by saying hi, not even trying.
Yeah.
So we went golfing, and I heard this. I remember you were like, yeah, let's go golfing and stuff. You're one of the first people that went out and hung out with me. And we went golfing. You didn't mention it once. It wasn't a topic of conversation. I didn't bring it up. We had a great time. We were just two buddies playing golf, having fun, had a cigar, I think, and just hanging out.
That sounds just like me.
Yeah. And it wasn't until later you came out and said, oh yeah, by the way, I'm gay. And I'm like, well, fuck me for being so fucking shallow-minded that I had this idea of what a gay man should or should not be, and I'm a fucking asshole. Like, it was like, wow, how shallow am I that I allowed these people or the media to shape what I thought gay should be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like you said, I agree. Yes, I've known I've been gay my entire life since I can remember. I never truly was attracted to women by any means, and I think I don't ever want you to think that you're shallow. I don't think it's a shallow. I think it's a you hadn't learned how to think for yourself just yet on that aspect of life. You know, you think for yourself and, oh, I'm going to pay my bills, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do this, and it just sometimes it takes. You know, it's happened to me many times in my life. It takes a certain person or a certain thing to happen for you to just go, oh, okay, that breaks all the molds that I've been taught or I've thought in the past. Um, cool, now we're good. You know, it just that's just the way it is. You know, when I started in the fire department, nobody knew I was gay. I was single when I first joined the fire department, which was May of 2006, and I met Adam in December of 2006. So it was not very long after I started the fire department. So I've been with Adam basically my entire firefighting career. He's grown up with me as a little baby firefighter in the department. Uh, it was very fast because when I met Adam in December, I left for Iraq in February. So we had only known each other for 2 months, and I left for several months to go to Iraq.
That's funny. It's like those classic love stories you see played out in the movies where the military guy finds this love.
Hey,
and
I never
then
thought about that. It's like the movie Pearl Harbor. That's me.
It's you. I mean, except on the same sex part, but that's
Yeah.
it. It's the same story.
Yeah.
It's crazy how you could have the same. Okay, I say it's crazy, but in general, I think people would look at that and they don't realize that those kind of stories play out for everybody. Doesn't matter who you love; those
Yeah.
kind of stories play out.
Yeah, love is love, man.
Yeah. Right. So you get out for Iraq. Sorry.
Yeah, so you know, I go to Iraq, and I was in the Air Force for
This is about it.
no, for many years. So I went to Iraq for several months, and I came back, and even at this time, you know, I was in active duty, and then I transitioned from active duty to the guard out here in Texas. And in doing that, I mean, I was still in the time frame in the military where it was don't ask, don't tell. If anybody knew that I was gay, I was going to be kicked out of the military. And that was the last thing I wanted. I loved the military. I loved the job I did. I was an F-16 crew chief. I loved working around airplanes. I loved doing what I did. I had a great time. And so I was always deathly afraid that I couldn't tell these people on this side of my life. Now I knew because I had the mindset I had that I knew that I could tell my firefighting buddies, but when it came down to it, you know, you think about it, when you have a possible life altering event or something in your life when you know is not, like you said, is a stigma or whatever, and it may change the way people think about you, the hardest people to tell are the people you love the most. Mm-hmm. So these are the hardest people I had to tell: my family, my firefighting family. I live with these people every 3 days, all of which were guys. We live in Southeast Texas. You know, there's all these check boxes that said why I should just keep it a secret. But
and it's funny you said that because, like I said before, I had this stigma of what I thought, and the way I say it sounds really dick, but I don't mean it to be, what I thought a gay person should be and how they should be. You know, this thought in my head. I have these check boxes, right? Well, you had the same checkbox when it came to Southeast Texas.
Yeah.
You had this idea in your head that I'm in Southeast Texas. I better be careful who I talk to because such and such might happen.
Right.
So it's on both sides. We have these preconceived ideas without really knowing.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, you know, I grew up in Las Vegas, which I knew growing up in Las Vegas, the idea of homosexuality was generally more accepted in a very open town such as Sin City. Basically anything and everything went, right?
Right.
So anything was up for grabs. You could do whatever you wanted. And besides, you know, Club Baby Seals and all that kind of crap. But so that's just kind of where I grew up, you know, and I just knew that. You know, but I think overall, I did have these check boxes in my mind, but there was this overall drive in my head that, you know, like you made a mention to it earlier. Being gay is not the only thing that I am. It's just a part of who I am. And my ultimate goal was to strive to make sure these people knew that I could do my job first. And that was it. So I didn't even think about it. I didn't even worry about it most times. It was not part of it until Adam started pressuring me, you know, like, hey, why can't I go hang out with the guys? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? I never even really thought about it that much. It was just I'm at work. I'm doing my job. Leave me alone. Let me do my job. Let me make my paycheck and come home. And I mean, I was never afraid. I was never ashamed of who I was. We went out to the gay clubs. We did all those things that stereotypical gay folks do.
Mm-hmm.
And we also did a lot of other things. He's a big club guy. I would rather just sit at a bar and hang out. I'd rather go fishing. And actually, he enjoys fishing too, but I'd rather be out on the water, or rather be hunting, rather be doing things like this. And I think that's where, the stereotypicals come from. Everybody thinks that if you're gay, you can't be a hunter.
Everybody thinks that if you're gay, you can't have conservative outlooks on life.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a story that not a lot of people know. There's most of the people that are around me know, or that are close to me know. But when I was in the military, when I was in active duty, I was stationed at Hill Air Force Base in Salt Lake City. I spent right about 4 years there. While I was there, I volunteered with Davis County Search and Rescue. And one night we had a huge wildfire up on the mountains, and I went with this other guy who just transitioned to our base, and he was from somewhere in Florida. Blah, 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 blah. We're up there, and there was a lot of that machismo, talking badly about gay people and this and that and this and that and this and that, whatever. And then I remember on my way home that night, or that next day, since we were just volunteers, we got released every day. And I remember when we were driving back down the mountain, he made a comment that no gay man could be a firefighter. And I thought in my head, like, that doesn't sound right, because I was just doing it. But I didn't know what to think. I'm like, this guy came from a career department.
Right.
He was an IAFF member. Like, these are the things that, and I was like, man, I know he's wrong, but how do I prove him wrong? I never even thought about it for years. I just kind of went on about my thing. And then when I transitioned to the Guard out here, my dad happened to be a volunteer out here. He's like, hey, you should come volunteer with the department. And I did, and I fell in love with the job. And at that point, I started thinking, when I fell in love with volunteering in the job itself, I thought back at that moment that this random guy telling me that a gay man can't fight fire, that it's basically impossible, is what he was saying. We're too afraid, we're too timid, we're too this, we're too that. And I thought, then I started getting pissed. Like, how dare this son of a bitch tell me what I can and can't do, blah, blah, blah. So then I decided to go to the academy. And even from there, just kind of snowballed effect into this great love for the job, and the respect for the people before me and what they did and how we got to where we are. And the changing of the fire department, and how things happened and how things changed and progressed into what we have now. In my mind, I was able to mold that into the same progression that I had faced in my life, and the adversary or the things that I had faced before about people telling me I couldn't do something or I couldn't do that, and the way I was able to change my life to make it what I wanted it to be. So thanks to this asshole who told me that gay men can't fight fire, luckily I got to fall into the best career field in the world.
Thank you, asshole.
Yeah, thanks, Dick.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I got a great friend because, and I gotta say, I don't think it was probably a driving factor in the back of your mind, but I don't think, had he not said that, let me make sure I say this correct. I think had he not said that, you would still be just as good of a firefighter, and I think the love for it you still would have found, maybe a little bit later, maybe. But I still think you would have had that. You're very respected within the department that I work for, or that we work for. I don't know if you know that. I know. I'm sure you get. I'm sure you get a bunch of guys telling you they respect you and shit like that. You don't bullshit me. Don't bullshit a bullshitter. Plenty of guys come up to you and tell you that. I'm not the only one. But the fact that your sexual orientation comes up from time to time, it never plays a part on who you are as a firefighter, as a union rep, as our union president. By the way, you are the first openly gay union president our department has ever had.
Yeah.
Our local has ever had.
Yeah.
And I only say first openly gay because I don't know if previous union presidents, if they are or not, they haven't come out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's kind of funny you say that, because I get asked this all the time. We go to union events. I spend a lot of my time traveling and trying to understand and become a better union rep and make sure that we can represent the ladies and the men of our department. And I get a lot of questions while I'm out there. Hey, Dallas, can I ask you a question? And they always get quiet, like, hey, hey, uh, what is your department? What do the guys think about you? I'm like, no, I don't know. Well, what do they think about you being gay? Like, they voted me in as a union president, so I think I'm okay. And they're like, yeah, you're right. Never mind. I just think about it like that. And I have to just simplify it to that aspect. Like, obviously, it doesn't matter to them. I mean, I'm sure just with every membership, I'm sure that there's people that may not like it or may not, and liking it and accepting it are two different things. You may not like it because you're extremely religious or whatever it is, and I'm fine with that. I'm happy that you're extremely religious. That's what I want you to be if that's who you want to be. But I don't think there's ever been anybody who's ever held it against me that I know of that's ever said anything. I mean, I'm sure that there's been derogatory comments. It happens. We speak derogatory about people a lot just because.
Because we're firefighters.
Because we're firefighters, not because I'm a gay fireman. Just because we're firefighters.
No, we make fun of
dickheads.
Yeah, we make fun of you for being gay all the time.
Yeah. So.
But you make fun of us too.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And I don't think that. I just don't think that's ever been held against my head of oh, that guy. I have to be a certain way to that guy because he's gay. Or I have to treat him a certain way because he's gay. I've been very fortunate in my career that I don't feel like it's hindered me, or I don't want to say hindered because that's not the right word, but that it's ever affected anything or any decision that anybody's made towards me or for me or with me to make sure, we do things the right way. That's why I said earlier, my initial was to make sure that all these people understood that I was here to do the job. And that's it. There was no, I'm not going to play sexual orientation card that I should be treated a certain way because I'm of a protected class, because I don't feel that I am. I feel like I'm just a human. I love who I love, and that's it. I want to do my job as a fireman, and I want to go home.
Right. Everybody just wants to go home.
Right. That's it.
Now that we're thinking about it, I remember actually the first time I ever realized you actually were gay. And it was so funny because it was so fluid. It was so nonchalant. We all talk shit. We all talk about how, hey, yeah, I got laid last night, this and that, right? So we're in the truck.
Oh boy, here it comes.
We're in the truck, and we're having these conversations, right? We're having this conversation. Oh yeah, she had big boobs or whatever, and my wife, man, dude, she was all over me last night. And then without missing a beat, without making it a big deal or anything, just jumping into the conversation, you're like, oh yeah, I made Adam hurt last night. And it was wow. It was like,
sorry, honey.
But it was like, oh shit. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the rumors were true.
wait, what? We can talk about this and it doesn't really affect anything else.
Yeah, it was. And the way I thought of it, it was like, well, if we can talk about and joke about our, lives and our sexual orientation just happens to be straight.
Yeah.
If we can do that, why can't you? There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to express those things on your point of view as well.
Right.
There's no reason why. Absolutely none. And if it makes anybody uncomfortable, they need to shut up and not talk about what they do with their sexual orientation.
Well, that's part of being in the family. Like we talked about earlier, we're all a big family, and I feel in my own family that if my parents are comfortable enough talking to me about their sexuality, they better be comfortable enough listening.
Right, exactly.
Shit's about to come out.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, maybe literally, but but things are going to happen. Like my family and me and Adam, we all get along very well. Our families are completely open, and we talk about a lot. And I've been lucky. I kind of feel weird. I'm in this weird class of person. Like, I feel like I have a lot of the stigmas against me that you would think that there's no way these two families or these two people can meet and that everybody like each other. Adam's family is for like I said earlier, lack of better terminology, like deep backwoods southern Georgia. Like they are, they basically grew up in a town of like several hundred people, very conservative thought processes and different things like that. And it was like never a thing. Like we met and he told his mom and I met his mom and then he met his dad and his dad didn't know at the beginning that he was gay and his mom kind of outed him on accident because his mom was kind of gullible to what his dad was doing. He kind of knew, but I don't think to this day I don't know if Adam's ever even told his dad that he was gay. He kind of just his mom told him and that was it. That was the end of it.
Yeah, Adam mentioned that
did he?
he's
Okay.
actually never said the words, "Dad, I'm gay."
I must not have been here. I was here for some of the conversation y'all had, but I must not have been here when that happened.
Yeah, he mentioned that.
I must have been stirring your soup.
Yeah, you were. Oh, yeah. You. Thank you for finishing the soup, by
Yeah.
the way, and it was actually came out really good.
No problem.
Thank you.
But yeah, so it was really weird. And then my dad and my parents are divorced. His parents are still married, the original parents. But like my stepdad, and my mom, they love Adam to death. My dad, my stepmom, they love Adam to death. I mean, Adam hangs out with my parents more than I hang out with my parents, and it's very weird. Like we have this odd thing. Like our families, the entire family, exes and all, still get together for holidays. The exes still come over. My mom and my stepdad still come and hang out with my dad, and my stepmom for Thanksgiving, Christmas, everything. It's all we're all one big happy family, and just being the type of people we were, you just wouldn't think that would happen. That doesn't happen very often, especially in new world. It just doesn't happen. Most time when people get divorced, they're divorced and they don't want to talk to each other ever again if they don't have to.
Right.
My parents have always been amicable. They've always gotten along, and it's just the way it is. So it's kind of weird, but having people from Adam's type of upbringing, his family, his grandparents, extremely religious people. I love them to death. They're great people. They come stay at our house through Christmas through New Year's, and I think they know. They see us walking to the same bedroom together. They talk about us as a couple, but they are very extremely religious people. They just figured out that it doesn't matter. It's my family. I'm here to love them.
Right.
That's it. So we've been very, very fortunate in our lives, and I know that there's other people and other folks that are that are gay that haven't had that, and I feel horrible because I couldn't imagine not having my entire family love us.
And that's hard for me to say anything because I don't have anything to worry about the people that I love judging me based on who I am.
Right.
I've never had to worry about a stigma tied to anything that I am, where you have this whole society stigma tied to just being gay, homosexuality in general. There's a stigma out there still. But I truly, truly think and honestly believe that that stigma, I think, is being held around more than it actually is.
Yeah.
I think that it's not as bad. I'm not saying it isn't bad. I'm saying it's not as bad as people are portraying it to be, especially the media.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it isn't bad, and I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm just saying I don't think it's as prevalent and as at the forefront. I think on a day-to-day basis, most people don't give a shit that you're gay.
Yeah, I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, everybody has things that happen in their life, right? Like, this is how I think. This is how I think about it. Like, when you have something in your life like this, as far as, let's just say I'm driving around. Let's say there's a lot of turmoils going on in the world right now with BLM, different things like that. The race issue that's going on in our country right now, and why people can't just be accepted and just be normal, and it all just everybody just for was back in the 90s. Why can't we all just get along? Why can't we really just like shut the fuck up, get over yourself, and just let people live and have fun?
But I think really the majority of people are that.
Yeah, and that's what I think. We watch the media, and there's obviously going to be things. Yes, I can't tell you that every black guy or Hispanic guy or whoever it is that's driving in a car won't be profiled by a cop. I can't tell you that. I can tell you that as a gigantic white male driving in my car, a cop's most likely not going to profile me. Right. However, if I go to a place where they think homosexuality is a sin and I put a rainbow sticker on my truck, then I might be profiled. I don't know. I'm not saying that I can't, I'm not, am, or am not going to be, but I do know that it was very hard. Like I said, I've told a couple of my friends, we've talked different times about this, and I said that's the worst thing. Like, think about anything that's ever happened in your life. The worst part about it, think about anything that's ever happened in your life, and whether it, be you got bad grades or something simple as that. But then think of the true nervousness you feel for just saying a few words to somebody and then having them hate you for the rest of your life, truly hate you and not want anything to do with you. And those are the things that gay folks have to go through when they tell their families. They don't know, especially in a family like mine. If sometimes when you're a very liberal family and they've always been open about different things, it makes it a little bit easier. But like for mine, my family's been very conservative my whole life. So is Adam's, and the ability to actually just open your mouth and say, "Hey, I'm gay," you go through depression. You go through all these different thoughts, like what are they going to say? How are they going to treat me? Am I going to be shunned? If they're never going to talk to me again, blah, 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 blah. And finally, you finally have to get over it and just say, you know what? I am who I am. And if they don't like me, that's it. Oh, well.
The closest thing I can relate to is my sister. Growing up, she grew up straight. She was engaged to a guy and she's gonna get married. And then, of course, that didn't work out. And then during my wedding, she brought a friend of hers that she met where she was living. And apparently, she told some other parts of the family. She had not yet told me. I don't know why she felt like she had to wait to tell me. I don't know. I haven't really sat down and talked to her about it yet. But when I kind of mentioned something about it, it clicked with her because I made some comment. It was just like, yeah, I don't care who you love, and whatever. I made a joke without it trying to be a joke. I was trying to let her know, hey, bitch, you told everybody else, why haven't you told me yet?
I left out.
Yeah, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then she finally realized, oh, he knows. He doesn't care. And then she finally told me. I was just like, yeah, I mean, you're my sister.
Yeah.
Like, it was almost like Adam's story. He was like, he told his mom. His mom was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I think she was expecting a bigger reaction than what she got.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of those stories.
It happens quite a bit. Same thing with my mother. I was expecting this huge blow up, and I think it was a kind of a pressure thing. I remember when I was a young kid, it was one of the vivid memories that stands out in my mind of why I was so afraid to tell my family at a young age. Because I knew since I was like 10, like that, like when you really think about when you think about girls, whatever. That was the first time that I really remember. I remember getting a boner and thinking about a guy. I was like, man, this is horrible. Like, why am I thinking like this? I don't know, but this picture's great. I need to keep looking at it. One of those kind of things.
Yeah, no. I had the Victoria's Secret catalog when I was younger.
I blame this all on Marky Mark. It was his fault.
Oh, Mark Wahlberg, if you're
Mark
listening.
Wahlberg's fault. Yeah, no. So that was kind of what it was. But there was a family that lived across the street from us when I lived in Las Vegas, and they were extremely religious. And I remember me and my stepdad were working in the garage one day on probably one of our cars, or doing woodworking or whatever we were doing. And he came over. He was like, "Hey, Jerry, would you guys sign this petition?" And my stepdad was like, "Well, what's it for?" And he's like, "It's to ban the legalization of gay marriage and blah 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 blah." And I mean, just really really horrible words. Like, we don't need to let these faggots get married, and it's disgrace on God's will. And I'm like, oh man, I remember thinking as a kid, I thought this guy was really ignorant. Like, what a piece of shit, really, And then my stepdad goes, "Yeah, I'll sign it." I was like, oh man. And this was probably when I was 12 or 13. So it had been a couple of years since I had realized, and obviously knew what marriage was. My parents had been divorced, and I knew that, my stepdad, and they got married. And then he grabbed my mom and, was like, "Hey, Kathy, you need to sign this too." And so my whole family signed this petition, and I'm thinking in my head, I was like, okay, I can never tell anybody. Like that was a defining moment in my life where I realized that, like, I'm probably going to be disowned if I ever tell anybody. It wasn't until I got in the military as a young man, I was 19 or 20 at the time. And I just remember thinking, man, I don't care anymore. I'm tired of living like this. I don't care if they don't like me. They don't like me. I'm not going to keep on living this lie. I'm not going to keep on. It's not a lie. I mean, generally, most kids don't go tell their parents about their sexual experiences and, just openly discuss their sexual experiences. So I was never really lying to them, but my mom would call, hey, do you got a girlfriend? I'm like, no, no. Unfortunately, when I was in the military, I did spend a lot of time trying to fight who I was, and spent a lot of time in the bars, picking up a lot of different, ladies, figuring that I could convert myself back. Really had a struggle inside my head of how to make this work. Then finally, I was just like, I don't care. I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of struggling. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to be who I want to be. That's it. And that was the day I realized that I basically called everybody on the phone. I was like, hey, guess what? Sister, your baby brother's a homo. She was like, okay, cool. And it was funny you mentioned Adam and what his mom said, because I called my mom and I said, hey, Mom, I just want to let you know that I'm gay. And she goes, yeah, I know. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, I've known for a long time. I'm like, why didn't you say anything, bitch? She's like, it's not my job to come out to you, tell you to come out. It's your job to come out to me. I mean, I knew since I found those pictures, I knew you were bed years ago. Oh man, I've been worried my whole life, and it's just I got the perfect scenario, which I said earlier. I feel really bad for people that don't get that perfect scenario. They don't get the family acceptance. They don't get a family who just loves their kid for who they are, and like I said, now my spouse spends more time with my family than I do.
Yeah, well, and it's funny you say it, because I think conservative families have this stigma on them by the general public, especially the liberal public, but they think that if a conservative family has a member that's gay or homosexual or is questioning, whatever the case may be, there's a stigma that conservative families will shun them or disown them. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because I'm sure it does.
It does, yes.
However, I'm hearing a lot more of the stories of, okay, I mean, we don't really agree with it, but I love you. And if that's who you are, as long as you're happy, we love you and we support you. And it might not fall in line with our beliefs, but that doesn't mean our love for you is going to change in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, no, you're right. It does still happen. It does happen quite a bit. There's a lot of places where conversion therapy and all those things are still legal, and things like that are horrible for these young gay men and women to have to grow up through and think about and have to worry about. But yeah, I mean, the average everyday, to me, I equate being gay as openly public as going to the grocery store nowadays. I mean, that's truly the way I think about it. Like, generally, if this was 1960s Houston and I told a cop at a stop that I was gay, I may be ridiculed. I may be treated differently. Now, if I tell a cop that I'm gay, it's like, okay, thanks. Here's your driver's license back. Like, no, and
that, or they'd start hitting on you.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, you may be telling them because you think they're hot. Like just seeing where they're at. They didn't have a ring on, so I'm trying to see where they're at. But yeah, it's definitely way more open than it was before. Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing that little part of your history and your journey into that. I want to get now back into the fire aspect. We basically covered that, your sexual orientation didn't really matter, at least in our department. You proved yourself as a firefighter. You're well respected within our department. Do you think that when you did finally were able to tell your crew, because I'm sure your crew were one of the first to know, the ones that you got real close with, did you notice any change on how they treated you, how they interacted with you? Because 100% honesty does, when people first meet you, you do not put off a quote unquote gay vibe. All right. When I first met you, when the rumor was told to me that you were gay, it was, shut the fuck up. Yeah. It was unbelievable. Right. But that's because of my ignorance on what I thought a gay person was or should be or should conduct himself. That was my ignorance.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I don't fit the stereotypical mold. I mean, let's just talk stereotypes for just a second. I don't dance around in my panties everywhere. I don't have a lisp. I don't.
You don't have a high voice.
I don't have a high, sweet voice. I'm 6'4", almost 6'5", 300 pounds. I wear camouflage all the time. I'm not fashionable. I don't, know anything. I drive a really old pickup truck, or not really old, but I mean 15-year-old pickup truck. I'm basically a country boy, really.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
you are
for
absolutely.
all lack of terminology, yeah, I'm just a country boy, and I don't the things you see on television, whether it be, just because that they always portray on any show, even if it's a gay person, that they always have one or two of the stereotypical things. Either they have a high voice, or they always want to be naked, or they always wearing really dapper clothing. Their hair's always kempt. I mean, I wear a hat 90% of the time because I don't like combing my hair. I get haircuts because I'm the union president, and now I have to meet people without a hat on. If I didn't, I probably wouldn't cut my hair nearly as often as I do, just because. But yeah, so I don't meet those stereotypical roles that people think of. So, yeah, you're correct.
So when you did come out to your crew, what what did anything change on how they treated you, or did you notice any change or difference?
No, I think my crew. I had a really good crew. My first several years here, and especially when I came out, I had like the meld of perfect people that were just, whether it was they actually just did things something I didn't pick up on, maybe. But like I said before, I had spent the 2 years or so of my career trying to define who I am as a firefighter, not who I am as a gay man. Define who I am in my career, what I wanted to be, what I wanted to portray, my willingness to work, my willingness to do anything you ask me to do, and do it to 150%. Because of that specific reason, I don't think that my guys thought any differently of me. I do remember gathering them all up in the kitchen, and it's kind of funny, the I don't know if you discussed this with Adam or not. He gave me an ultimatum one night. He was like, "Hey, I'm coming to the station." He called me. He was like, "I'm coming to the station. You can tell you guys, you cannot tell them. Shit's gonna happen." I'm like, "Okay." We had been dating for about a year and a half, almost two at this time, and he had still not met any of my crew. I'd been through one or two crew changes, just like one person would leave, another person would come, and I remember being so nervous. At this, I used to smoke, and this time when I smoked, I was outside with my driver, and we were having a cigarette. Blah 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 blah. And I remember being like sweating. This is in December, so it's not hot outside, but I'm sweating. I'm like, oh my god, how am I going to tell these people? How am I going to tell these people? Blah blah blah. These people are going to, tell everybody, and I'm never going to be welcome to any crew in the department I work for. Again, that's just the way I thought. But I had to do it. My boyfriend's on his way, and you've met Adam, so you know how boisterous and how loud and how
Adam fits the stereotypes that we were talking about
so
earlier.
yeah, he does fit some of the stereotypes, right? So I sat down with my driver and I just said, "Hey, I got to tell you something." He was like, "Yeah, what's up, Dallas?" I was like, "I just got to tell you that I'm gay and my boyfriend's on his way." And he's like, "Okay." And he asked me some questions. We talked about the military for a few minutes, and he asked me some questions about the military as opposed to fire department life, and I remember telling him, yeah, it was don't ask, don't tell, so I couldn't tell anybody I've known for my whole life, and blah 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 blah. And he just looked at me, and this is kind of when I knew it was going to be okay. This is a guy who's a man's man, right? He's a man's man. He's a great fireman, just a wonderful person. I believe he's a wonderful person.
We're talking about who's assistant chief now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I just think he's a great guy, and he looked at me, and he just it was let's put it this way, lack of the weirdest way that I can put it. He looked into my soul, and basically he just looked at me and said, "That must have been an exhausting life." I was like, I never thought about it like that. I was like, yeah, it kind of has been. Having to hold this secret for my entire life, basically, to everybody at work, family, and have to have two different lives. He's like, man, it just must have been exhausting having to live two different lives, basically your entire life. I was like, and
Gets
that was
you right in the feels.
yeah, it hit me in the feels where I just sat there and I thought, man, maybe this is going to be okay. This guy who I feel is a man's man, who's a great firefighter, who I would die for any day, just told me that, or it wasn't even told me, but just accepted who I was. Didn't ask questions about it as far as like why are you that way, blah blah. Blah. He just basically just told me like, man, you've had kind of a hard life, and I wish it would have been better for you. I was like, all right. So I ran upstairs. I grabbed the other. At that time, we had 4 other guys because we had. Or,
Yeah, you had the medic unit there.
no, well, we had. They were downstairs, so I didn't
No.
grab those guys. No. At that point in time, they were not as well liked and accepted within our department because they were.
Well, they weren't even part of the department at that time. They were their own thing.
Yeah, they were part of health services. So, but I went and grabbed the other guys. We used to have 6 stationed at one for a while, and so there was either four of the guys or 3 other guys upstairs, and I went and grabbed them and brought them into the kitchen and just basically poured my heart out. And I was like, "Hey, this is who I am," and they were like, "All right, cool."
Can we go back to what we were doing now?
Anything else? I'm like, no. It was just very weird. They're like, all right. So one of them went back to the day room. The other one went back to reading his book. I think he was studying for a promotional exam at the time. Went back to reading, and my lieutenant went back in his office and kicked his feet up on the desk and was watching his black and white television that he watches because he's an old man. So
that damn mullet he's got going on too right now.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So so it was very interesting how everybody did it, and then about 35, 40 minutes later, Adam shows up, and the two other firefighters and my driver are downstairs, and they introduce themselves, and we talk for a little bit. And this is when I knew that everything was going to be okay in the fire department side of it. I knew my lieutenant, he's kind of a sarcastic jerk. I love him to death. He's a sarcastic guy. I love him.
Everybody loves y'all's relationship. Like whenever somebody comes over and works with you guys at the station, it's literally like watching a comedy on television. Like one of those sitcoms where every couple of minutes there's a one-liner of you guys downing each other, and it's fucking hilarious because seriously, there needs to be a network coming out and just videotape you guys. That would be a hilarious fucking show.
Well, we've been together for 12 years, so he's my work wife. But since he's so sarcastic and we get along so well, I knew his personality, the type of person he was. I, truly didn't know how he would feel about me being, truly feel how he would be being gay and meeting Adam and everything. And so Adam had met all the rest of the crew, and he said, "Well, don't you guys have a lieutenant here?" I said, "Yeah, he's upstairs though." And he goes, "Well, I want to meet him too." I said, "All right, let's go upstairs." So we went upstairs, and I told my lieutenant that he was on his way up. He goes, "Okay, that's fine. Yeah, he's welcome at my station. If he's one of yours, he's welcome at my station." I said, "Okay, cool." I took him upstairs, and Adam, when you walk into our station I'm at, you walk in to the right, there's 2 offices, and down a little hallway there's the rest of the bunk rooms. But the 2 offices was a battalion chief and a lieutenant at the time. And he walks into the little foyer area there, and he goes, "Oh, I like the one on the floor. That's pretty cool, blah, blah, blah." And then I said, "Oh, lieutenant's right in here." So I walked him over to the lieutenant's office, and I said, "Hey, John, this is Adam." And John stands up to meet him or to shake his hand, and Adam looks right at him and goes, "Are you too fucking good to come downstairs and meet me like everybody else?" And like John just stopped. It was like, and from that point on, I knew we were going to have a great relationship, and we do. I mean, Adam's going to hang out with him and his wife at the beach house this week. While I have to be at work, he's going to go hang out while my lieutenant's off and his wife at their beach house, or his friend's beach house, not his. But.
Yeah.
So he's going to be there for 4 or 5 days, and I get to be there for a day and a half because I have to work, and he doesn't work at this point in time because of COVID. So.
When did it start hitting you that the rest of the department kind of knew?
Oh, it was not too long after that. There was already some speculation from before I had a MySpace account, back when MySpace was all the rage. And everybody in this MySpace atmosphere, your friends would be showing up on there or whatever, and I didn't really care. I was friends with who I was friends with. It didn't matter to me. Like I said, I was never ashamed of who I was. I just didn't bring it to the fire department because that's my work life. This is my off life. I didn't know. I was still young at the time. I didn't know how they actually intertwined with each other at the time. Mm-hmm. And I remember there was some grumblings going on before Adam came up and before I'd actually officially gone out. Like, "Oh, look at Dallas's MySpace. He's got all these gay guys on there, and blah, blah, he must be gay. And I remember there's a lot of talk in the kitchen. We have a 3-story station, really. It's 2.5 ish,
Yeah.
but it's 3. And other crews would come over, and they'd, my lieutenant would be like, "Hey, Dallas, can you go downstairs and fill their cylinders for them, or help them fill their cylinders?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." And I'd run down there real quick, and then there'd be the senior firefighters from the other group and the senior firefighters from my group. And most of my group really wasn't saying anything that I knew of, but I would come back upstairs sometimes, and I would hear them talking in the kitchen, like, "Oh, you better watch your butt. Dallas is gonna fuck you tonight." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, just this. Those were some of the reasons also why it took me so long, because I was okay. When I grew up, I didn't hear a lot of talk like that in Vegas, but I heard that in Southeast Texas. So those were the things I talked about, my check boxes that I had, like why I can't tell anybody, because I live in Southeast Texas and all these homophobic idiots are here and they're all going to hate me. But it just took a little bit of time. I think even those people that were saying that, I think they're saying that because that was the norm to say it. I don't think it was that they truly meant it, because most of those people that were saying that stuff like that, we're great friends now. Like I hold nothing against them. There's terminology that's used by a lot of people, and just because they say it doesn't actually mean they mean it. They just may not know better, and you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Now we're good friends, and we have no issues. So,
When did you decide? And we're gonna jump forward now. Obviously, you're well respected. I've said it 100 times. You're well respected in the department. People look up to you in our department. You're a fireman's fireman, and you're someone that people actually look for in learning the job because, like you said, you proved yourself as a firefighter.
yeah.
When you decided to go ahead and jump on and become more involved in the union aspect of the fire department, did your background, did your sexuality, was that a concern at all? I don't think it was. From what I saw, I didn't think it was a concern for you because at that point in time, I think you pretty much knew you were well respected. Nobody gave a shit within our department. But what I'm asking is, when now you have to go do these conferences, now you're part of the international, you have to meet people from around the country and Canada now as a representative. I don't think it comes up. I don't see it coming up. Granted, I haven't gone to a lot of these conferences with you guys, but was that ever a concern for you going and it possibly coming up with these other representatives of the IFF and then having to talk to our international's president? You know, was there any of that concern in the back of your head? Like it was when you first started the fire department? Because now you're going into a whole new realm here. You're going from being a firefighter.
Right.
Now you're in the politics part of being a firefighter, and politics can get real tricky with shit like that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's a big issue. Even presidentials, it's a huge issue, right? When people go out there and they try to show what they support, what they don't support, it's an issue they bring up because they think voters are going to be persuaded or stuff like that. Was that an issue?
No, I don't think so. I don't recall it being an issue. I remember when I became the president, when
How did you feel when you got voted in as president?
I felt humbled. Nobody ran against me, and there's two ways to think of that. Either
No, there was one person that ran against you.
what the first time I'm talking about, the very first time.
Yeah.
I felt humbled. Like it's weird to think about it. Like, is it out of respect, or is it out of I was the only idiot to put my name in the hat, right? So you have to think about it on both sides. Like, once I became president, I realized I'm the only idiot to put my name in the hat, because all these other people really understood and knew not to do that. No, I've enjoyed my coming up on my 4th year. I've enjoyed doing it. But yeah, there was not really a lot of thought about would they accept me. I had been to a couple events. Unfortunately, I had never put myself into a prior office. I had never held an office before the president, which people, say that's a huge no-no to do. And one of the only reasons that I chose to do that was at the time within our department, we were going through some turmoil as well. The president we had before, whether you liked him or hated him, it doesn't matter. He did a lot of really good things for the local itself and got us a lot of really good things, apparatus and pay and different things like that. We were able to move up, and he worked very, very hard to be very political within our community, within the state, to get us the things that we have today, which I'm very thankful for. And most people that are in our local should be very thankful for.
I think that's sidebarring here. I think that's a general consensus.
Yeah.
Like you said, whether you hate him or like him, everybody understands that he did progress our department and our local.
And personalities are personalities,
right?
So, exactly. So his personality, some people didn't get along with, and I think that's, even if you can respect him as a local president, you can still hate his personality, but respect it for what he did.
Right.
So I had these huge shoes to fill. Like, what am I going to do? At the time, we had a couple people that had talked about putting their name in the hat, and for terminology-wise, they were fist pounders. They wanted to walk in there and pound their fist on the desk and tell the city what you're going to give us, what you're going to give us, what we should have. And I learned very early in doing all these events or different conferences I've been to, that's not the way we get stuff done. That's not the way. If it has to come down to that, it has to come down to that. But when you just walk in there to negotiate a contract, you shouldn't be slamming your fist on the desk telling them, you're going to give us this. You're going to give us this. It should be let's discuss this. This is what we want. This is what you're willing to give. Can we meet somewhere in the middle? And try to progress that way. That's what
it's a mediation process.
Right, exactly. And that's what our president did for many, many years. It was he knew the laws, he knew the rules, he knew what had to be done. And when it came down to it, if he had to slam his fist on the desk and say, no, this is the law, this is the way it's going to be done, he knew when to do it. But at the same time, when it came down to negotiation stuff, it was, hey, let's try to move this up. And over the years, we've seen, pay raises, and we've been able to get more people. And, the staffing, we have a little staffing problem right now, but that's just because of the paramedic and trying to get everybody on board. It's somewhat hard, but for the most part, he did a very good job. And so trying to fill those shoes is what I really thought about, and how are the people in the IFF, the TSAF, how are they going to look at me and say, we accept this guy because he's filling this guy's shoes and he's brand new. They really welcomed me in with open arms. I felt more anxiety about being somewhat conservative, because I'm not uber liberal and I'm not super conservative. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. And all I'd ever heard was this organization we're part of is just completely liberal and blah 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 blah. And then you once you get into the political aspect, you're like, okay, they're not. They're somewhere in the middle too. But that was the anxiety I had, was being that political guy that was in the middle of these realms rather than on one extreme side or the other. I know that our district vice president from the international, he accepted me with open arms and was willing to help me and teach me things. And any day of the week, I can call him and he answers the phone and he'll talk to me for an hour. I mean, there's times where I'm driving to an event in New Braunfels or whatever, or wherever I'm driving, San Marcos or wherever, and I'll just call him and I'll talk to him for an hour and a half, 2 hours while I'm on the driving. He's just sit there and talk to me about whatever needs to be done. So yeah, it was kind of cool. We talk about brother and sisterhood, and the international and state both implore us. We're here for our brothers and sisters, no matter who they are. And I feel that the people that are in we'll say power, or that have, or part of the e-boards, or the people that are decision makers, they truly believe that. They truly feel that way, that we're all here doing a job. It doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, black, white, Mexican. They don't care. They don't care.
You're firefighters.
You're a firefighter. That is it. And there's no bearing on whatever anything else. All that other stuff's a sidebar. But when we're here at these conferences and conventions, we're all equal. We all do the same thing. We're all here to give firefighters better lives while they're in the service, and better lives when they retire from the service. That's what we're here for. Whether it's pay, staffing, mental health. Mental health is a huge one in our group. All these different things. That's what we're here for. So
it's cool that your outlook on it had nothing to do with who you were, and more about it's good to hear when somebody gets into those kind of positions that they take their personal biases and their personal wants and needs and is able to put them on the back burner and listen to the whole.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's things that you have to support that you might not 110% agree
that
with.
I absolutely hate.
Yes, but because the majority of the membership
Right.
wants them,
Right.
you're totally 110% willing to fight for that, even though you might not agree with it.
Yeah, I mean, just an example, we have an initiative going on right now that I've been fighting for the last year we've been talking about. We held a vote. We did all these things. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. But my membership,
4896?
we'll just say it's the 4896 work schedule. I'm not a fan. But my membership voted. That's what they want. That's what I fight for. I walk into the chief's office every day and I tell them, this is why we need to do it. This is why we need to do it. And I present all the data of why it needs to be done. And that's it. It doesn't matter what I like anymore. It's not about me. It's about us as a group. What's going to make our membership the most happy out of our group? What's going to make our morale go up? What's going to make people be hopefully less sleep deprived? I mean, I have my own thoughts and my own, deals, whatever. But when it comes down to the chief, I don't present my own thoughts. He understands that I'm okay with that either or. I mean, truly, if it happens, it happens. I don't care. I'm not that strong against it. I'm not that strong for it. But there are some people that are super adamant that we don't go to it and super adamant that we do. But my job for the last basically year, so we'll just say 6 months to be conservative, has been basically walking into his office every day and going, hey, we need to go to the schedule for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason. It's not about me anymore. And that's what most of the DVPs of both organizations, myself and most local presidents and most people on the e-board have to go through on a daily basis. We get accused of, not doing things for the membership, but they don't understand how many things we do that we don't agree with. This is how it goes. This is what it is. And I signed up for it. I enjoy doing it until the end of the day, or until I'm dead. I'm still a firefighter.
Right.
And I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make sure my people are happy. So this is what it is. This is what it is.
And I can tell you that's part of the reason why you got voted in again, because we notice what you're doing. We see that you're doing a good job. We see that you're trying. We see that you're not hiding anything from the membership. And I think the respect that people had for you as a firefighter bled over into having respect for you as our union president. And because of that bleed over, it makes you more wanted into that position. There's a lot going on in not just our department, but in the fire service in general when it comes to politics nowadays.
Yeah.
And because you're union president, I want to kind of dive into it a little bit with you. Our international supports a candidate, supports Biden.
Correct.
And it came out and it caused a huge stink.
Yeah.
Huge stink. So much so that people actually stopped or put on hold some of their union dues, some of their PAC funds.
Yeah.
PAC funds, which is separate from union dues.
Right.
You can't really pull out of the union dues without being pulled out of the union.
That's illegal, by the way. We don't do that.
Right. You can't pull out of the union without being out of the union.
Right.
You can't not pay your dues.
I can't do anything politically related with your union dues.
Correct. Hence the PAC fund.
Correct.
Because the PAC fund, that's what that's for. But there's a local PAC fund, there's an international PAC fund, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I know that a lot, and I mean, you see it online. There's been a huge pullback, a huge, how do I say, people being upset with how it went down. And because of that, the international PAC fund took a big hit. And I would even say that the state PAC fund even took a little bit of a hit because there was no pushback from our state representatives on that aspect. Do you find, because you go to all the conferences and stuff and you hear more from the heads, right? More from the people that get to make these decisions and stuff. There's a shit ton of members. Not all the members have a voice. And I think that's what kind of pissed off a lot of people, is that this decision was made to back up this candidate, this presidential candidate. And they say they polled people, but they didn't say where they polled them. They didn't say how they polled them. there was no on the website, the international website, where you have to have your own login and prove that you're an international member. They didn't put a poll out
Right.
even on the website to get feedback. It was just a certain area of nobody knows where, and then made the decision off of that. But then everyone's like, well, that first presidential election, you guys just decided not to support anybody. What changed? Why can't we just do the same fucking thing, just not support either one and just let it be? Because the policies towards fire are almost in line with, what Hillary was spouting and saying and what Biden was spouting and saying. And I understand, as in the political aspect, you try to you want to throw your support that's going to make our job better.
Right.
I understand that. Whether you agree with them on a
Right.
whole bunch of different issues, I get that. But why not just do what you did the first time and just not support anybody again? Because it was going to be polarizing.
All right. Well, okay. So the first, basically the question, why did we choose to support a candidate when we didn't last time, when it may have been, like you said, so polarizing? So 2 years ago, I went to the international convention, and like I said, we live in Southeast Texas, generally pretty conservative around here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not a secret that Texas in itself is a pretty much red state.
Yeah, I mean, you have counties like the county we live in, or the not you live in, but the county I live in is more blue than red. But it is what it is. Texas, we'll just say, is a generally conservative state. We understand it. And so I'm sitting there at that international convention last year, and they were talking about presidential endorsements, different things like that. As you know, like you mentioned, the international chose not to support anybody on the election of 2016. But when you look at that, the reasons behind it were neither of the candidates could show any political clout of where they had done anything that potentially backed firefighters in any way, right? There was not, besides talk, there was no bills that had been signed. There was no this. Obviously, the president we have now, Donald J. Trump,
he didn't have any way. Yeah, he didn't have any way to show any type of backing.
Hillary Clinton, she hadn't really done anything specifically good for firefighters besides being Secretary of State and being able to do a couple different things. But it was not her ideas. It was not a lot of things. So,
but she supported
the international looked at it and said, okay, because of this, we're going to have, if we back either one of these candidates, we're going to have a huge divide within the group. And so we're going to choose not to do that this year. So they chose not to do it. 2018, I sat there at the international convention, and I listened to about 8 different locals from California, Washington, Oregon area.
Very liberal states.
Call our general president a fucking pussy for not backing anybody. And they berated him in front of everybody to the point where the group started booing and getting nasty. And the president did just what any good president should do. He says, stop. This person has a right to speak to me. And it doesn't matter how. Let them speak. And he sat there and listened up on stage while several people berated him for 30 minutes about why we didn't back anybody. We've never done that before. Why are we doing it now? We always back a candidate no matter what. If it's, we'll just say, whether it's their fire-related Republican, fire-related Democrat, it doesn't matter. We always back somebody. And just typically when you look at the union itself, is typically more of a Democratic candidate, usually backs.
Yeah, because they're very, the Democratic Party is usually very union forward.
Yeah. So that was one of the reasons that this year there was going to be no way there was an endorsement because of the proceedings of what happened at this convention. Like, we were not going to do that again. Like, the PAC board got together and was like, that was the wrong move for us to make. We should have made a decision back then, whether it was Republican or Democrat, we should have backed somebody. We've always done it, so we should have done it then.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with change, though.
Yeah, there is nothing wrong with change. Unfortunately, what you look at now is when Joe Biden threw his name in the hat to run, I don't think that there was any way, especially now I do personally as a person think it was done a little too quick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there was a lot of thought process put behind it of why we should wait a little bit longer. However, I understand the international thinkings. Joe, whether he's done anything for anybody, any other organization or not. I'm gonna, I'm gonna go off of that. I'm gonna just say, truly backing our organization, he's done more than any, any person has ever done for firefighters in the country. Starting with our PSOB benefits, he's one of the initial starters of our PSOB benefits. So if you die in a line of duty, your spouse is not left with nothing, or with whatever your some people's meager life insurance policies are.
Right.
He wanted to make sure that gets taken care of. Every firefighter back organization, whether it's safer grants or whatever it may be, he's always voted for to make sure that we get people staffing, decent wages, different things like that. So I don't think that there was any way that the international was not going to back him. Like I said, I do think that it was done, my personal opinion, a little too quick.
You think maybe they should have waited until he was actually the Democratic candidate?
I think that they should have just waited and been like, okay, because it was like Joe Biden's running for president, IFF endorses him. I mean, it was like almost the same day. And
well, there's a rumor out there, and I think I saw an article that Biden and
Shea-Burger.
Yeah, I didn't know if I should say it. If you look up IAFF union president, you're going to find him. He's everywhere. But there was an article saying that if Biden did get elected, that Shea-Burger would maybe get some type of cabinet position and or some type of Washington position. And that's why it kind of happened. And if that's the case, then that's the wrong way to go about it. Absolutely. In my opinion. Now, it's just an article.
Right.
I haven't done the research to find out how 100% true that is. But there is a lot of people that have put that out there and been like, would he have backed him up as quickly as he did, like you said, and or as strongly as he has been doing, had that not been a possibility?
Yeah, and I'm not saying, I'll never say that anything's not possible, right? I can't say the impossible is always possible. It depends on the scenario and the timing and situation, and if the flux capacitor is running correctly. Anything's possible. What I will say is that for 45 years, our general president now has never wavered since the day he came into the IFF and got his job. As far as what he was here to fight for, what he was doing, nothing's ever changed. I don't see a guy who's, my personal opinion, as maybe meeting this guy before and talking to him, I don't see a guy who is the leader of an organization of 320,000 members wanting to be a cabinet member in the back of the hall somewhere that's not looked at, that's not out there in public. I don't see that. I'm not going to say that it's not possible, but just in the general talkings that I've had with the president, which is very menial. I mean, it's not, we don't sit down, you don't call the general president on a daily basis.
No, you don't have these deep conversations.
Just the part that I've talked to him, I don't see that as being a thing that could or is going to happen. Like I said, I can't say that anything's impossible. Truly, when it comes down to politics, especially at that level, you'll never know until it happens if it was really right or not, if it did actually happen or not. You just won't know. Our general president's getting up there in age too. I don't see him being around for very much longer, just because.
Well, Biden's up there in age.
Yeah, and just because of how long he's been doing it. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't know. I can't tell you yes or no. What I can tell you is the reasons why the IFF backed him are a multitude of different reasons. But I do feel, like I said, it was a little quick, just a little quick on my. I think it would have been better or easier to answer the membership. I'll just talk in our local to answer the membership if it had been a month and a half later, even a few weeks later, rather than I'm running for president. Okay, we back you like the day of. I think it would have flown a little bit easier, and people have to, just like we talked about with the other aspect of this 4896. People have to understand. Like, I understand why our national is backing Joe Biden. I understand it. Do I agree with it sometimes? Maybe not.
Well, and I think the majority of the membership understands that the IFF, the union itself, is usually backs the person who has shown the greatest support towards fire.
Right.
That is understandable. We understand that. But I think at the same time, having the firefighter mentality, we do the job because we want to help people. We want to make it a better place. We're okay with making a sacrifice of ourselves to help someone out, right? So we're okay sometimes with making a sacrifice of who we support politically, we're making that sacrifice of maybe not getting paid a little bit more, maybe not having as much benefits because we believe, or our members believe, that in making that sacrifice and not backing him is better for the whole in the long run. Does that make sense? Like, we're willing to make that sacrifice of those certain aspects because we believe that it's not good for the whole.
Right.
It's not good for the country in whole. Yeah, he might support us and do great things for firefighters, and he might make us all, get paid way more than we are now. He might give us the benefits nobody else has, and that's all well and good. But how? What's the cost of that? If the cost is making the rest of the country, in our and conservatives' opinion, shit, I'm willing to give those things up to make sure that the rest of the country doesn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not a selfish thought.
So, and this is generally how I think about that, right? I've told every member in our department since I became the union president that if you guys want to run this motherfucker into the ground, guess what? I'll be the captain at the helm.
Right.
If that's what you want. So, let's just put into a scenario. November comes around, Joe Biden gets elected. Would you be willing to say that's what the country wanted, so that's what we're getting, and I like it?
If he was duly elected, he's my president.
Right.
I'm never going to disown a president, whether like Barack Obama was my president. Did I agree with everything he said? Absolutely fucking not. Do I agree with all his possibilities?
And
no.
You know what? You shouldn't.
You should. He's your
just
president.
blindly follow anybody.
You need to support the person that is representing you around the world. You need to show them that even though you don't agree, you need to show that support, because if they see a fractured state, if other countries see a fractured state, it's not a good thing for the country as in a whole. So if there is a president, a representative, a senator, a congressman, whether I agree with them or not, I'm going to show them support and thank them for their service, because if I show anything less than, it's showing the rest of the world that we can't disagree and still be okay. Right now, the world's saying they don't disagree, and look at how fucked up everything is.
Right. Well, so to finish that, so if you're willing to do that, we have to look at everything in the generalized. So when you look at doing your political endorsement, you have to look at, one, who you're endorsing, two, what they stand for, how well they're going to, I said, we'll say this. Number two is what they stand for firefighter wise. Three, if they're going to make everybody look bad, right? As far as not, I don't care about everybody else, but this is firefighters. And basically, when I say how they're going to make us look, as far as, are they going to stab us in the back as soon as we put them in the office? I don't say Donald Trump's done it, because he hasn't, that I personally think of. Just the other day, he signed a bill that was, or did an executive order or whatever, however it works up there, saying that COVID will be related as a PSOB benefit, and people who die, firefighters who die in line of duty from COVID, will receive their PSOB benefits. That's a huge step for firefighters, and I'm happy that he did it. It should have been done before. I'm happy that he did it. I can't say I'm not. You asked a question about polling the membership. Okay, when it comes down to semis, or we'll just say a not a vote, but a poll.
Yeah, a poll. Okay. At the very least, a poll.
So
yes.
A poll. Well, let's just put it this way. Last 2 years ago, we had a contract, and I put it to the membership, and I had less than 60% of my membership vote on it.
Okay. But you don't need everybody to poll to get a general idea.
Right. So is it worth that political group or that PAC group? Like, we do a lot of things in our union, and you don't know about it because you've elected me to do the job, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You hopefully trust me enough to make that decision.
Correct.
We've done the same thing, and hopefully we trust them to make the right decision. I'm not always saying it's going to be right, or right to my moral standards, or your moral standards, or anybody else's moral standards, whatever it may be. But their job, they have to put aside, like I said, I do things for the membership. They have to put aside what their personal feelings are. They have to go basically solely off of what affects us as firefighters.
Yeah.
And if it affects us the most positive, that's the direction they're going to travel every time. Because no matter how you look at it, like, we think about Texas, God's guns and country. That's what we think about here. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how it is. Well, God's great. I agree. Can you buy guns if you don't have a job? That's the next one. So that's how we always approach that. On top of that, I would never ask, would you assume that some national organizations, would you assume the NRA to make an endorsement off of, we'll just say, abortion rights? No, they're not going to do
No.
that. They're gun rights. They're gun right people.
So
So
that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
So
When you put it that way, yeah.
It's really hard to think about it like that, but unfortunately and fortunately, as a president, you have to put yourself in that mindset of, that may not be my personal beliefs. It may not be what it is.
You have to separate issues.
Right. And luckily, so when you talked about international versus state and different things like that, some of the reason internationally wise, there was a Democratic candidate that was backed, blah, 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 blah. People got upset about it. Some people got out of the international pack. We didn't have any membership that we lost as far as, I'm backing out of the union. But we did have some membership that said, okay, I don't want to donate to the international pack anymore or whatever. And some of them was state pack. A lot of the state pack guys, when we talk to them, the only thing you have to put down in front of them is the paperwork that shows that last year we backed 75% Republican candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, oh, okay, I'll still pay. I'll still put my money in. They don't know what any of their other things are. They don't care.
They don't know
they
if
just
the
see
Republican
and that's it. And
person backed up certain issues.
And as the state level, our organization is a state level, they go, I don't care if you're Republican, I don't care if you're Libertarian, I don't care if you're Democrat. We're going to back candidates that back firefighter rights and issues. And that's what they did. And even the international does the same thing,
mm-hmm.
but they have the biggest platform to stand on, that huge platform where they have to go, okay, we're going to back this candidate, and everybody hates him for it. No matter, so you have to hate them, have to don't. And then next election term, it's the opposite. Back and forth. It just constantly goes like this. And they're going to be stuck in that realm for probably a while.
I think it's going to take a union to weigh what's good for firefighters, right? Right now we operate on what's good for firefighters. That's it, period, end of story. It's going to take a cabinet in the upper levels of the IFF to be like, all right, we're going to weigh what's good for firefighters, but we also need to consider what's good for the country.
Yeah.
But right now, that's not it.
Right now,
it's solely what's good for firefighters. That's it. End of story. No questions asked. Everything else is out the window. No other policies. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Their policies on anything else. It's firefighter, firefighter, firefighter. And that's great. And it's good for us as firefighters. But I think a lot of firefighters understand, a lot of people understand that sometimes focusing solely on one issue isn't the answer.
Yeah, it may not be. And I'm not going to put words into the IFF's mouth because I can't.
Right. And I'm not either, but I'm just saying, I think it's going to have to be a cabinet that's going to be willing to do that for anything to change.
Yeah. Like let's think about it right now. If the election time had changed to right now, the endorsement time had changed to right now, and you had a Democratic candidate that came in the door that had really never offered anything to firefighters before, maybe we'll say even less than maybe Hillary did as far as firefighters. Never really offered anything and never really voted on anything really that firefighters really cared about, blah, 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 blah. And then you have our president now that just signed this bill into effect. Would there be a good chance that they would probably endorse him? Absolutely. I'm not going to say that they would. Obviously, the endorsement's already been made. This was several months down, before. But it quite possibly could have changed things and who he would have endorsed. Now, in doing that, you're going to have the far liberal states, whether they be the West Coast or the East Coast, the Northeast, stuff like that, where they're going to hate the IFF for it. They're going to say, "Oh, I can't believe we're backing this candidate because he's a Republican." And
but that goes to my point that the IFF made a decision without thinking about other issues other than just firefighters.
Yeah,
whether they make that endorsement one way or the other, conservative or liberal, Republican or Democrat, whether they make that endorsement in either way, that one side's going to be upset because now, even though they're endorsing them based on firefighter issues only, they're upset because there's other issues that they support. And when you make an endorsement, the general public doesn't see our endorsement as oh, they're endorsing him because he helps firefighters only. The general public sees it as the IFF endorses it, so they must endorse all his policies.
Right.
That's the way the general public looks at it, right?
Right.
And as firefighters, we forget that too. And then when we see that, we're like, wow, okay, you're endorsing him because of him backing firefighters, but you're also endorsing this, this, this. Your name is now tied to this issue, to this issue, to this issue, even though that wasn't why your endorsement came about.
Right.
But when you don't take those other things into consideration, you have to know that your name is now being tied to all the other issues and endorsements that candidate has.
And it would be either way.
It would be either way. Either way it would be,
yeah.
Right? That's why I'm saying it's going to take a cabinet to really evaluate and be able to separate just the firefighter.
I don't think there's, and it's hard because I don't think there's a way to say, okay, well, this guy may be great for the economy. However, he doesn't believe in firefighter rights. We can all just be fired whenever we want. And there's no union abilities, and he's going to try to abolish everything we stand for. So even though he may be great for the economy and everybody may be half rich when we're done, how do we say that if we don't have jobs to be half rich? It's just really hard platform to stand on and try to figure out what's the best route to go. And yeah, you're right. I mean, your name's always going to be attached with different things, whether it's, like I said, gun rights, abortion rights, blah, 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 blah. It's all going to be attached.
Yeah, so now the IFF is tied to those.
Right. And that's what
we're all part of the IFF, and all of us have different things. And that's why I think you're seeing a lot of the people being upset, people backing out of the international pact, because they feel like, even though they know it's because he backs firefighters, they also know now that IFF is now attached to these other things that they truly believe are not good.
Right. And that's where it's weird too, because as the president, you go to an event in California and you don't see that. They're like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. Everybody is like, thanks to IFF for backing this guy. It's the greatest thing ever. And you come back to Texas and they're like, why'd you back that idiot?
Exactly. It's just different ideas. Yeah. But there has to be, I think there does have to be a consideration to the other policies that your candidate, that you're backing, because I mean, you have to know that once you say I'm endorsing this person, that you're not just endorsing them because of firefighters now. At least the general public doesn't see that you're just endorsing them as firefighters now. Now the general public sees, shit, all these firefighters endorse all these other policies as well.
Yeah, well, and that's where you have, it's hard because, okay, so we back this guy who doesn't like firefighters because of the general public.
That's what I'm saying. There has to be consideration, and that, right. But then that goes back to the whole.
I'll tell you what, there is consideration. They talk about this a lot, and like I said, the time frame was the most horrible thing, because it probably would have ended up being the same anyways. When you got a guy who's been in office for 45 years and voted for every firefighter, advocated for every firefighter thing, and voted for everything in a positive manner, I don't think there was any way to change that.
And that's understandable. I get that.
But yeah, I mean, the time frame is like, it was that there was no thought about this.
There was no thought. There was no explanation. There was no anything. It was just.
But there's always behind the scenes. There's always beforehand, and I'm sure that Joe had probably, Joe and President Shaber have known each other for 40 years.
They're very close. Hence when I saw the article.
I mean, they have been political in Washington for over 40 years together. I mean, as far as Shaber advocating for firefighter rights, union rights, and Biden being behind him. So I'm sure that there was phone calls made beforehand of, I'm probably going to run. Okay, well, let's start looking at it. And I'm sure Shaber or whoever put in the IFF, the PAC guys, like, hey, he's probably going to run. Let's start looking at everything and make sure it's what we want to do. Like I said, I think the timing was the most horrible thing. If you would have waited a little bit, there may have been a little bit more, okay, they actually thought about this one rather than just blanketly putting a thing out there. But I don't think.
But then why not?
I don't think there's any good way to do it, because we look at it and we talk about this and we sit here and we talk about what the advocation for the economy and all these other things are in the state of Texas.
Right.
But like I said, when you go to California, it's not the same. Like they basically are like, yeah, you guys made the right decision.
Well,
So
yeah, because now
where are you
we're not only backing the firefighters, we're backing those policies that they believe
that
in.
they like, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I don't think that there's any way until you truly get a candidate who can a candidate, not a party and a policy, but a candidate who can truly think both sides of the aisle and say, we need to get you to do stuff that's good for Americans and get this stuff accomplished, no matter how it may be. Yes, we may have to sacrifice at the beginning, but at the end, this is what it's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a positive, that's what we need to go with. And until we can get a candidate that's truly like that, I don't think that we're ever gonna meet anywhere. I don't, and so the IFF and the other organizations below the PEP really looked at it and said, okay, let's make sure that if things were to go south, we protect our firefighters as much as we possibly can. Let's get them as much as we can to make sure that at the end of the day, when they go home, they can still feed their families. If they were to die in the line of duty, they still get the benefits that we feel they deserve. That most places in the country, firefighters are severely underpaid. And,
Absolutely.
and trying to get them those rights to where, people go, oh, well, when you die, you get this much money. And it was like, yeah, but I got this much money my entire life, possibly putting my life on the line every day I go to work, and I only got paid this much. And that's truly when you got to think about all that when it comes down to it. So I think in the end, it's just until we can get, like I said, a candidate that maybe can think hard on both sides of the aisle and be able to pick up what's best of both of these groups that are radically different than each other. I think it's just gonna have to stay
the way it is.
Unfortunately,
and there's just going to be polarizing until we.
I think that's my personal opinion. I think that's just the way it's going to be. And I don't have any problem explaining when I make an endorsement, whether it's city council endorsement or local races up to international. I don't have any problem explaining to anybody why they're rated the way they are. Unfortunately, it's still hard to make some people understand why, and it's what it is. It's just how it is. It's never going to change.
Yeah, it's hard for people to really separate issues.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, we all understand that unions advocate for that group and what's best for that group, firefighters in our case.
Right.
It's hard to separate, okay, cool, their policies are great for us, but there's these other policies that aren't so great for other aspects of my life.
Right.
And it's hard to separate all that. And I think really it just comes down to, it's just, like you said, it's going to take a candidate that can really truly look at both sides of the aisle, be an advocate for firefighters, be 110% supportive of firefighters and some unions, because not all unions are good, and then be able to look at the general consensus of what people believe is good for America in general outside the fire. Because outside the fire, when I go home, I don't worry about that fire stuff anymore. Now I'm worried about, what am I going to be able to do? What am I going to be able to say as a civilian? Because now I'm no longer a firefighter. So it's really hard as a firefighter to separate those two sometimes, because you hear, okay, they support everything about firefighter. Awesome. I'm going to get paid more. My benefits are going to be great. My family's going to be taken care of. All that's good. All right. Well, what happens when I can't be a firefighter anymore? And now I feel like my life is now changed because that candidate had made policies or changed policies. And it's a very tricky issue. People are very, very, very passionate about all that. It's hard for them to separate. At the beginning, when I first heard it, I was like, what the fuck? Like, it would have, at the beginning, I was like, why not just do what we did in 2016 and just don't back anybody?
Yeah.
And then whoever gets elected, advocate at that point and try getting our policies in and everything else. You know what I mean? It is what it is now. We're beating around the bush, really, because until we get that person that is able to do both, people are going to just be upset.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you going into that whole conversation with me and the political aspect of it, because I want people to hear that firefighting is not just firefighting.
No,
it's very political. It's very, very, very political. And you're the first person that I've had on that actually has some really cool insight and really deep insight because of you being the union president. And so I think it's really cool getting your point of view and what you see and how you have to conduct yourself as a political figure in the fire department.
Yeah,
You're a political figure in the fire department. You're not just a firefighter anymore. You're not just an EO. You are a political figure. You are a talking head for these
right.
280 people that you were elected to be the representative of. And so it was really cool hearing your how you think about that on the political level. And then you even give us a little bit of insight on your personal beliefs, but you're able to put those in the back and be like, look, this is how and why. And that's really cool that you're able to do that. And I think it takes somebody that's very mature in their thinking, very logical and mature in their thinking to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's luckily I have, and I'll go out right and say it. Any other local can try to fight me, meet in the back alley or next to the flagpole if they want to. But I feel I have the best executive board around. I have a bunch of good people who truly have different thoughts, and we're able to bring a lot to the table when it comes to discussing and being able to do things. Luckily, 80% of the things that we do come from the e-board guys, and they they allow me to be the figurehead or get all the credit for it being done this way. We're done it a certain way and getting the things that we get, and it's really not me; it's them. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am, and I wouldn't be able to be that person standing in front of the camera taking pictures with all the you know political celebrities, we'll say, and they always come to me with their hey, this is what we think, and then I take it all back and I look at it, and I either present new questions or I say, yeah, I think the same way, and then we all agree. But truly, the men and women that I get to work with on a daily basis make my job as easy as possible. It is cumbersome sometimes. Sometimes it is hard to get off of work, do your job as an EO, do your job as a firefighter in an apartment, and then get off of work and answer 20 phone calls. Go meet with all these people.
Let, let's go into that. How has it affected your personal life? You being at home with your husband and everything else.
Yeah, I mean he's really good with it. He's really good with it. I've been and I think the reason he's so good with it is because I was able to see how our former union president worked and able to talk to him and sit down with him quite a bit before he left. He didn't leave the area. He still lives in our neighborhood, but he retired, and I still conversate with him about historical things, what happened in history from the past, so I know how to think about it in the future and how to combat some of these things that we look at every day, whether it be staffing or pay or get somebody being terminated or being disciplined or whatever it is. So sometimes history has its place, and sometimes you need to know that. So I'm thankful he's in the area, but I was able to sit down with him quite a bit, and he's like, "Listen, this is going to take all your time. Almost everything you have is going to take it." I was like, "Okay." Well, I found myself in a time where, besides hunting and hanging out with my family, I had nothing else going on. So luckily, I've been able to do that or get that way in my life. There's a lot of guys, that have second, third jobs, firefighters wise. And I just didn't have to have that at this point in time in my life, and I thought it was the best thing to do. And I discussed it with Adam for probably 2 or 3, 4 months before I did it, and I told him what it was going to entail, and I said, if I do this, I'm going to need your support 100%. There's no backing out. I mean, we can't back out. I can't leave in the middle of this term and just say, "Oh, you guys fend for yourselves." He accepted accepted my first negotiation was with him, and he accepted. So I ran. I won by acclamation. Nobody actually ran against me. And when I ran again 2 years later, I talked to him the same as I did before. Hey, I'm going to do this again. Are you okay with it? Or have I been neglecting you at any point in time? And the one comment that I had was, I wish you would set the phone down later in the evening. And just at least just be us. I said, okay, that's the common terms or ground we were able to come to, and that's what I do now. And I know, like you said earlier, he probably does know that I sneak off to, oh, I have to go to the restroom, and I go to the restroom and I answer text real fast, or I, do something real fast, and he probably knows that, but he's comfortable with it. He's, like I said, he's always been independent. I've never had to feel like I have to be there for him to be satisfied. we're that happy old couple. We sit in our chairs and we can sit in a room together for 5 hours and never talk to each other. Just sit there and watch television and
Just
hang out.
knowing the presence was
Yeah.
there.
And, other than the couple of TV shows that we watch together, other than that, we'll just throw something up on the television. And if I'm sitting around and nothing's going on and I see that he may be playing some game on his phone, I'll check my messages or whatever. But there is days, when I get home from work and whether we have a labor management meeting or whether we have people that are being disciplined or whether we have some things going on, I'll be on the phone or on Zoom meetings, especially now with COVID. I'll be on Zoom meetings for hours until 2 or 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And on those days, he'll look at me about 5 or 6, be like, okay, you're done. Cut it off. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll try to tell everybody like, hey, I can't talk anymore. But yeah, I've been blessed with that, with him having the understanding of what I'm here for. I've always described it to him, what we're here for, why we do what we do, not only as firefighters, but why I have to be there politically for these people. Unfortunately, for 100 years, politicians have been making decisions for firefighters and how they live their lives. So we have to be political. No firefighter wants to be political. We have to be. It's a necessity.
Yeah, as soon as it went into a civil service thing, and no longer do you have a star on your house and whether or not we're going to put your house out or not. It's no longer as if you paid your dues. Now it's a civil service.
And even then, you think about back to the days when lawmakers were making rules for insurance companies. Even up to then, firefighters had to be involved with politics. They have to be. There's no way around it. If you are not involved in politics, you're going to fall to the wayside, and you're going to get shit pay, you're going to get shit hours, you get shit on for the rest of your life. And our group, like I said, the union president before, is not willing to accept that. I'm not willing to accept that. Nobody here should be willing to accept that. So in doing that, we have to be political. We have to be in the middle of it. And luckily, I was handed off a great working relationship with our city for the most part. We had some hiccups. We had some, things that came to light again. And now we're back to where we were before as far as being able to call and talk to folks and just make them understand our side of the story. I'm not trying to buy anybody. I don't want to buy anybody's thoughts, feelings, emotions. I just want to talk. I just want you to understand why we're asking for the things we're asking for. And that's it. If you don't agree with me, you don't have to agree with me. I don't care. Just let me talk to you about it.
Let's communicate.
Right. And that's what we've got now. For the most part, we're able to, I can call any one of the council folks and just say, hey, the thing that's going to be voted on or whatever, this is how we feel about the situation. It may be great for the city, but your membership may suffer a little bit. Or it may be great for the membership, but your city may suffer a little bit. It may cost them a little bit extra money. And a lot of times, when you look at it, the reason we're able to provide the best service in the state of Texas is because of the people we have working for us and our morale. And if anytime you can up the morale and make it better, it's just going to get better for the citizens. It's going to continuously get better for everybody. At that point, they're willing to pay more or give us more. And then it just continues to like I said, snowball this effect where you have the best of the best people, the best apparatus, and the best morale. And that's where we're trying to get to. So.
It's funny how you mentioned just talking. It seems to be a recurring theme when I have guests on the show. It's a recurring theme, whether it be on the family side, whether it be on the political side, friends. It's communication seems to be the one thing that just comes up constantly that almost feels like gets neglected on the day-to-day. We don't talk about having to talk.
Yeah.
It's weird, right? Like you don't communicate that we need to communicate.
Yeah.
And it's this constant thing that keeps coming up that if people were just more open to communicate and being less afraid of what those repercussions that are in their head, and it's in their head because you won't really know the repercussions until you communicate, right? It's just in your head. But communication seems to be this overwhelming topic that keeps being brought up on how it can make life easier for firefighters and in general, but definitely for firefighters when it comes to the mental health, when it comes to pay, when it comes to policy, when it comes to friendships, when it comes to your spouses and relationships. It's just communication. And it's crazy that that's a topic that just keeps coming up, is just communication. Shut up, listen, try to understand, and then try to express your thought, what you want to communicate in the best way that it can be listened to, thought about, and then maybe understood. Not necessarily agreed with, but understood.
Yeah. It's I guess to the point where communication is what it is. Communication is great. People have truly lost the art of listening. Shut up and listen for a second.
Well, that's part
truly
of
listen to what they have to say.
Anybody that go Google how to communicate, and one of the top things it says is shut up and listen. Try to understand. You have the person giving the message, the person receiving the message, and that person receiving the message has to try to decode and understand that message. And then when you respond not based out of an emotion, but out of literally just evaluating what was said.
Right.
And to do that, you have to listen to what is being said, unbiased. You have to listen, decode it, and then you can give a good feedback.
Yeah.
And then that whole cycle starts. It's just a circle. That's how communication works. Listening is part of communicating.
Yeah.
It's not just saying something, and then a lot of people have a hard time with shutting up. If we're talking and we're having an argument or a discussion about something we don't agree with, and I'm at fault, and I think a lot of people, especially if we're passionate about whatever we're talking about, you can start talking, but I already have in my head what I'm saying already.
Right.
I already know what I'm going to say. Not listening to whatever the fuck you're saying, because I already know this point's really going to get them. I'm not listening to what you're saying because I'm so passionate. I'm at fault for it. A lot of people are.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if I'm able and I start working on shut up, listen to what he's saying, try to understand his point of view, and then now when I communicate back to you, I can either disagree with you or I can be like, I evaluated it. Let me give you a better response to show you my point of view.
Well, it comes in the firefighting career field. We have a great ability to be able to communicate with people. You got communications who you communicate with, and then you have everybody on the radio, and then you have your family at home, and you just have everything, right? And it goes down to the basics of me being able to talk to my family about, what we all do. We all come home and we all have that 1,000-yard stare for a couple minutes. Sometimes we had a horrible day or a vivid call or whatever it may be, and your spouse will come, hey, what's going on? What's the matter? What's the matter? Hold on, just let me process my information first.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned early in my career that I don't want to keep bad things in. I always put them out, and I have a person who's willing to listen to me and hear those bad things. But they know if I say I don't want to talk about it right now, they don't get talked about soon enough. It may not be right now, but it'll get talked about. I'm still processing how I want to say it. I don't want to. These gory details of some of the things that we have to see, unfortunately. We don't want to say those because then is that going to affect them or whatever, so you try to hold those in. But sometimes just being able to talk about the call in general or the situation, the scenario in general, without bringing those gory details, you'll be able to get some of that out of your system and go away. You don't have to say, oh yeah, I saw somebody's guts sprawled all on my road, or whatever it may be, some, horrible crap. But, you could just say, yeah, I went to this really bad car accident. There's a lot of people that are injured, blah, 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 blah. And just talking about it sometimes with somebody who's not in the fire department sometimes helps because we all, have that black, dark humor where we're, willing to make jokes and say things. And then that's the way we kind of have to deal with it. But sometimes it doesn't help all the way. Sometimes you still have to be able to discuss it with your spouse in an intimate setting, we'll say. Sometimes just putting it on them, they don't remember. They didn't have to see it. They didn't have to live it. So they have a story. It's like listening to. Let's just say if you're watching Nightmare on Elm Street, right? You watch the movie,
yeah,
and then you have horrible nightmares, right?
Yeah.
But if you read the book, you probably wouldn't have horrible nightmares.
Probably not.
Just because you're just reading about it, right? It's just something you read about. You didn't have the visual acuity and the mental, the word, the verbiage, and all the sound and signs and stuff like that happening around you. So that's how I've truly thought about it. Like with Adam, when we talk about things, I'll say stuff, and even if I do bring some of those gory details in, he hasn't seen it with his eyes, so he can't
really correlate.
Right,
what
and that's my way of being able to get it off my chest of what I've seen or what's happened, and it kind of helps me deal a little bit more with the situation because there are all those perfect storm of scenarios happening to where I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life or whatever. obviously there are calls you'll never forget, whether it be bad or good. And luckily, some people have the ability from the beginning of their career to be able to process that information the right way to where it doesn't affect them. And some people don't.
Right.
It's just the way it is. And whether they need help to learn how to process it, because you're never going to get rid of it. It doesn't go away. But learning how to process it and put it in that right. You ever seen the old, what was there's like one of the old Conjunction Junction movies. Conjunction Junction. Watch that function.
Yeah.
There was one where they talked about how the brain processes information. They used file cabinets and these huge long file cabinets with all this stuff. That's how I think about it. What file do you put this in? And how do you put it in there to where that drawer doesn't get open unless you have to open it? It's not one of those ones that's just constantly open where shit just leaks back out into your psyche. You just kind of, you can put it in there, you saw it, you put it in there, you shut it, right? Until somebody brings this information out. That's when you open the drawer and you go, oh God, I got to look at this file again. Sucks. But then you're able to put it back in the drawer and put it away. Some people are able to do that from the beginning. Some people are not. Sometimes it looks like that cluttered office of, like old assistant chiefs that maybe worked for you at one point in time. There's an old cluttered office where there's shit everywhere in their office.
Yeah.
And that's what your mind looks like. There's just cluttered shit everywhere. You don't know how to file it.
Right.
So trying to get people that help or the ability to get the help they need to be able to file their paperwork properly. That's how I kind of think about it. It's not for me to judge how you do it or how it gets done. It's just for me to get you the help that you need, right? It's the same thing with communication at home. On a fire scene, if I'm talking to the battalion chief and I'm trying to tell you what's going on, shut the fuck up and listen. If you ask me a question, shut the fuck up and listen. Don't spout something off at me and then spout something else off at me. Shut the fuck up and listen for a second. Take the information in, evaluate it, and then make your command decision based on that. Cool. We're done. It's the same thing as stations. I mean, it's everywhere. And if we could just learn how to do that a little bit more, and then it goes into the political aspect. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same thing everywhere. Like you said, communication's everywhere. We just have to learn how to do more of it.
We have to learn how to be better at it.
Yeah, shut up and listen. And you could be amazed at how much you can learn if you just listen. Just listen to what people have to say. There's times when I go to a different station where I'm working overtime and I'll sit at the kitchen table and I'll just listen. I won't even say a word. Just listen to what all these people have to say. And sometimes you're like, oh yeah, you're full of shit because I was there on that call and that didn't happen.
I know exactly what
you go to the next person and they're telling some story you don't know or whatever, and you're like, okay, that's cool. That sounds legit or whatever, and you're always going to make your assumptions. Everybody makes their assumptions of everything, but truly just being able to sit there and listen. We get into the storytelling aspect of communicating back and forth and storytelling, and then it gets to these fables, not just stories, these fables of things that never actually really happened. And you add this onto it, or
there's always a little detail that
you fell off a mountain and you actually landed on a nest of a sparrow, but now it's become a bald eagle, and now next is going to be a condor, and then next is going to be it just gets stretched out a little bit.
Yeah.
The story is the same. I fell off the side of a cliff and I landed on the nest of, but the animal keeps changing of what it's going to be, and it progresses. So
thinking it's going to either make it more believable or more sensational
yeah.
or whatever.
So, but being able to sit there and listen to people, you'll be able to weed out some of that crap and some of the good stuff, because there's a lot of good stuff that a lot of people have to say. It's like I tell everybody in our union, you call me. I'll listen to anything you have to say. Please don't call me at 3 o'clock in the morning anymore, because I'm not going to answer the phone. And
you hear that, guys?
Don't call me at 3 a.m. I'm not going to answer the phone.
Yeah. We're not on the job. Those 3 a.m. calls that we don't like going to?
Yeah. I got a call. Like
Dallas doesn't like answering the phone.
The person who did this will know who they are if they're listening. But
I have a feeling I know who it is.
Maybe. But so I got a phone call at 3 a.m. No. This
really?
is just from a normal member, right?
Oh, okay.
This is not one of my e-board guys.
Okay.
I had a call at 3 a.m. It was probably the second week I was the president. And I'd gone around the stations talking to people. This is obviously pre-COVID, so we could actually go around talking to people, be face-to-face without a mask on. And I said, hey, I'm available anytime you need. Here's my phone number. I think I wrote it up on everybody's board. Like, this is
the new union
cell phone number or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I said, call me anytime you want. I'm here to discuss anything. I want to hear what you guys have to say. So this is 2 weeks later. I get a phone call at 3 a.m. And I can't even remember what it was about, but it was about something that just happened to them on a scene. And I said, okay. I said, they're like, I need to talk to you about this. I'm like, Can it wait? I'm like, no. I need to talk to you now, or else I'll forget.
Write it down.
That's what I said. I said, motherfucker, you better write it down. And I hung up on him. I was like, God, do not call me at 3 a.m. asking me to talk to me about some stupid shit.
Right.
About what happened to you. About you told them the wrong mileage on the when you reported to dispatch or something. I don't even remember. It was something stupid like that.
Right. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start winding it down. There's usually about 3 questions I ask at the end. We went through a fuck ton, which is awesome. We went through your background. We went through what it was like for you coming up in the department, coming out as being gay in the department, what you did. We went a little bit into you and your husband. We definitely dived into the politics side of firefighting, which I think is fucking amazing because I don't think the general public really, truly, honestly knows how crazy it is politically for fire departments or any fire department that has a union or any fire department that has to deal with this, even volunteers. They're not union, but they have to deal with the water boards and everything. It's very, 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 very political. And I don't think the general public really understands that. But I want to go ahead and start winding it down. We went through a lot of good information. I asked 3 questions towards the end. The first question is, if you were in my seat right now, you're the podcaster, but you're interviewing yourself, what question would you have asked yourself? What question do you wish I would have asked you? And then could you answer that question?
Oh, man. I don't know if I'd ask myself anything else. I generally tell people, so my mode of thinking, generally when talking to people, is shut up and don't divulge too much information. It's like that lawyers did the shut the fuck up Fridays. Shut the fuck up Fridays. Unless you're asked a question, don't put it out there, right? So that's generally how I think. I don't know.
All right. So if you don't know, well, we can skip that. We can skip that. So basically what that tells me is that I was a good podcaster and I asked you all some really good relevant things and there's nothing that you thought you needed to share. And I'm awesome.
That's great. Yeah. I agree 100%.
Yay. Second to last question. Is there anything you wanted to ask me? I'm an open book. You can ask me anything you want. Whatever it is, doesn't have to be about anything we talked about. It can be anything that you might not know about me a lot. I mean, we're close. We know a lot about each other and stuff. So
yeah, so that's going to be kind of hard because I know.
What do you think? What's a question you can ask me?
I know a lot about you.
Yeah, I know you do. We go camping together.
I know.
Sorry, Adam. What is something that you think other people might want to know about me? And ask me that question that you think other people might know about me that you know.
Yeah. So generally, I try to ask everybody, and I'll ask you the same question as this: what is your general goal and aspiration at the end game of your career as a firefighter? That means, what is your goal? What is your hopeful goal and rank to get to, and maybe be a part of a special organization, a group like USAR, different things like that. But then, where do you see yourself after in the retirement? Do you staying in Houston? Are you going away?
That's actually a really good question. So I've always told myself I would love to spend most of my career in the lieutenant's position. I'm 10 years in now, almost 11, and I have spent the last 3 years in the EO position. We've had some stuff in our department that's made it difficult. I mean, we don't even have promotional tests on the boards yet and everything. So it's made it a little bit difficult in delaying my process to try to get to there. But the lieutenant's position is really where I want to spend most of my career in. If a battalion chief's position came about, would I totally not do that? I can't say yes or no. I just know that as I've been progressing in the department, that lieutenant's kind of where that's where I want to spend most of my profession in. Until I can't physically or, basically until I can't physically do it as well as I should. After, when I retire, me and my wife have talked about it a lot. We love to travel. We love to go around the world, and she wants to travel a lot, and I'm all for that. However, I'll be able to retire at a fairly young age. Within my 50s, I'll be eligible to retire with 25 to 30 years. I can put 30 years in and still be within my 50s.
Right.
And I've always enjoyed teaching, instructing, sharing knowledge, sharing my experiences, and helping the next generation of firefighters be just as good as, if not better than what I was. I want them to not make the mistakes I made. I want to share that knowledge. I want to be an instructor. I love sharing knowledge. I love seeing people progress in their abilities within this service, especially if it's going to be something that could save their lives or help them save another life later on. I want to be a part of that. I don't know why. It's a little bit maybe personal in that I get some sort of gratification knowing that I was a part of that. But in reality, and it's, I want to make that next generation of firefighters better than what I was a part of, because God forbid I ever need them. I want them to do the job better than I did. I know.
We think a little different. When I'm gone, I'm gone.
But I mean, that's just, I've always wanted, that's just, I want to be an instructor. I want to do it now too. Like if there was an instructor position now, I would love to be a part of that.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Yeah.
But when I retire, I think that's something I don't see myself ever really getting away from the life. Like I'm always going to be involved with it because I want to make that difference. Even though I might not be able to do it physically right then and there, it's me. I can say, if a firefighter goes and saves that baby, I helped train that firefighter. I helped him grow his abilities to do that great thing.
All right.
So I still want to be a part of helping people. And that's kind of where I want to do that with. So I'm using people and training them to help the general public as well. I still want to continue to help in some way.
Right. I got you.
And if I can help firefighters help others, then it's twofold. I'm helping more than just that firefighter. And that's where I want to be. That's my goal towards the end. Wait.
Huh.
I
think like I want to do all that same stuff just right now, and then when I go away, I want to go away forever.
Yeah.
Like just be done. I just want to be done working. I want to be done this. I want to be done that. I just want to go.
Oh, I'm not saying. I'm sure there's going to be a point after my retirement.
Ride my horse in the country somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not. There might be a point after my retirement. 5 years after my retirement, after instructing and stuff, where I'm going to go. Okay, you know what?
Right. Yeah.
Now's the time that I'm just going to go smoke a doobie in the back and drink a bottle of Jack and just relax. Whatever. But once I retire, I still want to be a part because I just think I'll be too young.
Right.
To just just give it up completely.
Yeah, because you joined the department when? How old were you when you joined? 25?
I was 23, 24.
Yeah. So you're in the same boat as I am, where I'll be 30 years. I'll be 55.
Yeah, I'll be 54. Yeah. So I mean, we're still young.
Yeah.
Really, we're still young. But yeah, that was my answer. Anything you want to know? Anything else?
No, that was good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the last question, of course, I ask everybody is, when I say what makes us fire, it can be taken two ways. When people listen to the podcast, they're like, hey, this is what makes us fire. And it can also be a question. What do you think it is that makes us fire? And I'm not just talking about firefighters. I'm talking about the families, the friends, the everybody involved in that fire life. What do you think it is? What's that point that makes us fire? Because we come from so many different backgrounds, so many different belief systems. It's really hard. I've noticed that I get that reaction right there that, holy fuck, that's a pretty deep question.
Yeah, I mean, that's a super hard question to answer.
Then there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to answer because, like, as a young man, I accomplished my dream. I wanted to be in the Air Force. I was a powerlifter for a long time. I did that for a long time. Then I was in the Air Force. I wanted to work on airplanes. That's what I wanted to be. I accomplished that. It wasn't until I came here, and it's just, the job just grabs a hold of you. I think if you're truly meant to do it and be part of this life, it just grabs a hold of you. You can't get away from it. Like, I can't imagine doing anything else than this. I just can't. Like, I can't. there's a lot of things I want to do in my life. I love working on cars. I love riding horses. I love doing this. I love the thought of being a rancher, blah, 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 blah. But when I truly think of, could I pull the trigger and walk away from the fire career field and what I have here? No, it's just, it grabs a hold of you and it won't let you go. And yeah, it's really hard to answer because I don't feel like I did anything to get here. I feel like I was predetermined to get here somehow because this is nothing I even come close to thinking about. As a kid, I always grew up, my dad was a pilot. I grew up, little toy airplanes. That's all I ever wanted to do. And then lo and behold, like I'm here, I'm at a volunteer department for a week. And the only reason I volunteered in Salt Lake City was because I thought it was cool getting to go walk around the mountains. It wasn't so much because I wanted to rescue anybody. I just thought it was cool, getting paid to walk around the mountains because we volunteered, but we got paid when we were on deployment. I thought it was kind of cool, like, hey, yeah, I'll go dig a couple ditches. And that's probably where my extreme hate for wildland firefighting is. But, so when I came here and I started doing this and the volunteer aspect and, just the job itself, I don't know. That's, like I said, it's a real hard question to answer because I don't think I asked for this. I think it just happened. Just made like something else predetermined, whether it's fate or whatever, just made me do this job.
It's something out there that makes us fire.
Yeah, I don't know. It's camaraderie. It's everything. It's combined. It's camaraderie. And, my lieutenant will say it's a bunch of backstabbing. I love everybody in the fire department, mostly.
Oh, Dallas, man, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing everything. Thank you for giving some insight on the whole political aspect and a little bit of insight on your life and how you got in. I really do appreciate it, brother. You are really respected in our fire department. I can tell you that.
Well, I'm happy for that.
You're somebody I truly believe most, if not all of us, really truly respect for what you do for us and how you portray yourself and act in the job that you do. It's something to look up to, something to aspire to be. So I know it sounds like I'm kissing your ass.
No,
I
don't want people to think too much of me if they come meet me and they're like, hey, you're an asshole.
Well, I think you're an asshole sometimes too. But
okay, well, cool then.
But seriously, man, thank you very much for sharing your points of view, sharing your stories.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
What Makes Us Fire Family. This was Dallas. Dallas, wave bye. Say bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
You guys get out there, stay safe, have fun. Peace. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what'd I tell you? What a show, right? We got a little bit of everything on that one. I want to thank Dallas again for sharing how he came up as a gay man, and then as a firefighter, and then as the union president, and then giving us a little bit of his thought process on how that job should be done. Dallas is very respected, very much looked up to, and I want to thank him again. What Makes Us Fire Family. Don't forget, please follow What Makes Us Fire on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok with the @WhatMakesUsFire. You can also follow us on YouTube with What Makes Us Fire _podcast, 2 words, and you can see the guests. You can kind of see the faces behind the voices. Also, if any of y'all need anything, if any of y'all want to contact me, any of y'all want to share your stories, go ahead and email me at whatmakesusfire@yahoo.com, and I'll do everything I can to help you out. You can also message me on any one of those social media platforms as well. Y'all are amazing. Please continue to listen. Please continue to share. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do all this. So I love you and I appreciate you. You guys get out there, have fun, be safe, and peace.